First National Bank of Lake Jackson presents Bank On It with your host, Dave Mayberry.
Welcome all, both here in our studios and those streaming online. I have a mover and a shaker as our guest today. I'm excited, and somehow I convinced him to sit down for a while. The owner of Help, Inc., and my dear friend, Fred Ortiz. Welcome, Fred.
Thank you, Dave. Great to be here. Excited to be here.
Me too. We've been talking about this for a little while, and I'm glad you took time out to be with us. This is going to be great. I look forward to it, and I want to get right to it. I've got a lot of things to ask you. So let's start with your early childhood and where you were born and where you were raised, and give us a little synopsis of what that went like.
Well, I'm a Brazoria County resident all my life. I grew up in Pearland. Pearland was a lot different when I grew up there. It was, I believe I remember the first population sign being around 10,000 people.
Don't you wish you would have bought a bunch of land up there or something?
I'm telling you, that was my dream, to buy everything west of 288, but 288 wasn't there yet. There were so many things we used to go out do on that property.
Like what?
Like ride horses, ride four-wheelers, the three-wheelers back in the day. And
Fun stuff.
It was just open land, and nobody really cared back in those days. If you went out, and as long as you weren't destroying anything, but you could go out there, you could go pick crawfish on the west side of town. And, crawfish wasn't even a thing back then. Like, it's amazing how something like that became delicacy down here in Louisiana and in southern Brazoria County. People can't wait to have their crawfish. But, Pearland was a small town. Everyone had shotguns. When you were able to drive, you could go to school with your shotgun in your truck, and nobody thought anything about it.
Just in the gun rack.
Just in the gun rack.
Yeah.
It was just a different time, different place.
And you didn't even have to lock your truck.
You didn't. That's such a crazy thing. You could lock it. You could put your keys up. That just was a different time. And it wasn't that long ago, Dave.
No.
It really wasn't. So I think, when I heard Joe Ripple talking on the podcast the other day, Clute seems like, very similar to Pearland, right? You grew up there. You knew everyone. The O'Days were a big family in Pearland, and a couple of other family names that were out there that they're still there today. But everyone knew everyone. You couldn't go, and we didn't hardly go to restaurants back then. There were so few. But you couldn't go to one and everyone not know who you were.
I love that.
Yeah. 518 ended at Cullen.
Cullen Boulevard.
And that's what was it? I don't even know it was called Cullen back then, but that's where our bus went. That was Dead Man's Curve right there, 518 on the Cullen right there, where it went north. That's how we rode our bus into Brookside Elementary School.
Brookside Elementary. Where'd you go to high school?
Pearland High School. There was only one back then.
Pearland Oilers?
Pearland Oilers, yes, sir. We
Okay.
were Oilers. We were Roughnecks when we were younger, and then we became Oilers.
Well, tell me what or who or when or how you got brought to Brazoria County south around Lake Jackson.
Well, that's kind of a story in itself. I became a paramedic. Had a good friend of mine from high school, decided he was going to become a firefighter, paramedic, and said, hey, why don't we do this? And he got in the Houston Fire Department, and I didn't. But I was still intrigued, so I became a paramedic. I went through EMT school, became a paramedic, and it just became the passion of my life. Before that, I was probably going to be a mechanic and be a mechanic all my life. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I enjoyed to do. But God had another plan, and my hands were still going to be involved. But
he picked the perfect person for that.
Well, it was.
You've got the heart for it, and that's just made for you. We were talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
And I've always believed that. You're always a happy person. You're an up person. I love that. And that helps the people that you're tending to feel a little bit better, a little more comfortable. They know they're in good hands.
Well, they have to feel that immediately. You have to be confident in that field. And when you first start, you don't have any confidence. You're scared on every call. I think for me, luckily, I rode with some great paramedics who worked for the city of Houston. Really busy EMS service. Think about the city of Houston EMS probably runs more calls than half of the state of Texas combined on a daily basis. It's incredible how many calls they run. So those paramedics had a lot of experience, and those were the guys who brought me up. I also got to work with some incredible doctors. I worked at Memorial Hermann Hospital, so I got to work hand in hand with Dr. Red Duke, and I learned a lot from Dr. Duke. Most people today, youngsters don't even know who Dr. Duke is, but he used to have that little commercial from the
That's
medical
their
field.
loss.
Yeah, it was. It was.
He was bigger than a character.
He was incredible, man. He loved medicine. He loved paramedics. The whole Lifeline program is because of Dr. Duke. But one of the stories, and I'm just going to tell this real quick because
Sure.
it's got to be known,
Of course.
is that Dr. Duke was in Parkland Hospital when Kennedy came in and was there, I believe, when Connally came in as well. That's where he was working. And that was his background, where he came from. And a lot of trauma, I believe, really the trauma centers changed probably because of that incident and how it really happened. But he spoke about that incident. I guess you had to wait 50 years before you could speak about it, before they were like on lockdown, couldn't talk about it.
I don't know if we know the real story of the whole thing anyway.
Well, I think hearing it from him that day was incredible. How Kennedy came in, they brought him in. He's gushing still arterially.
Wow.
But Duke is in another room. And back in the old days, all the ER rooms weren't exactly set up like trauma rooms like they are today. You go to Herman, every single trauma room has everything in the exact place. You can reach in blindfolded and grab your equipment or things that you need. It wasn't the same back then.
Pick a room. They're all the same.
They're all the same. So he walks into this room to get something and walks by what they're doing, and they're all addressing this wound here. And he looks behind him, and back part of his brain's missing, and he tells him, hey, this guy's gone. It was amazing getting to hear that at an EMS conference.
I can't imagine.
In Dallas. And the two doctors who were there spoke about it, and they had been sworn to secrecy, I guess.
So you were with Houston EMS.
I was not. Those guys were. I worked for Pearland.
Okay.
But we were volunteers back then. We were volunteer medics back in the day.
Oh, okay.
But Pearland hired part-time paramedics from Houston because of their experience and how much they saw. Pearland, you might run one EMS call in a week.
Mm-hmm.
So getting experience was a little more difficult. Now, comparatively, in Houston, people might call an ambulance for just anything, a stubbed toe. They just want to ride to the hospital. Where in Pearland at the time, people just called when there was a true emergency. So when you got called out, it was going to be an emergency and it was going to be bad. So you needed to have some guys with a lot of experience. But I also worked in Pasadena. Pasadena was very similar in the call volume. Each ambulance ran 24 calls a day, really high volume stuff. And so gained a lot of experience there. I became the first paramedic hired by the city of Pearland. That we were the first full-time. All of us were part-time. We were volunteers and we became part-timers. Then I became full-timer, became a supervisor. And in 2008, I got a phone call that Lake Jackson was looking for an EMS chief. I came down here and I turned the job down 3 times. It's like, man, I make more money. I get to take care of a lot of people. I'm on an ambulance, low responsibility other than caring for people. But I was really good at that. I was a really good paramedic. But, the administration side, I just wasn't sure about it, and the pay just wasn't good. And so I was coming down here for the 4th time to turn it down, and they made it worth my while. So I said yes, and boy, that just, it was a crazy thing because I never wanted to live here, never even knew where Lake Jackson was. I had to look it up. And once I was here for a year, I was in, and I love this community, and thank you. It was, I love the community vibe or the feel here, and the people had been here forever and nobody was a stranger. And within a few years, I felt like I was from here, even though my roots are still in Pearland.
How did the local community influence your early days here?
Wow. Well, I met some incredible people who had been here their entire lives.
Drop some names.
Okay, I will. Well, he's passed away, but Bob Sipple.
Isn't he something?
He was amazing. And he just took me in.
He was our mayor.
He was our mayor when I got the job.
Oh, okay.
So right off the bat, before I even took the job, I was coming down and doing some consulting. They wanted to do something big for Monica Brown. I think she was the first, and I may get this wrong, I think she was the first woman to receive the Silver Star since like World War II. And they were naming this bridge at McLean Park after her, the Monica Brown Bridge. And They want to do something special. So and I had a lot of connections in Houston and where I'm coming from up north. And so I had Lifeline pick her up and bring her in.
Oh, nice.
And so they landed her. It was a big deal for them. But one of my first things that I did was save the mayor because he was walking up on the tail rotor. You can't see that thing.
No.
And nobody here knows me yet. And I go to tackle the mayor to keep him from. So that, you know.
We didn't need security then.
Well, you know, I had so many years on the SWAT team at that point too.
Right.
So, you know, I had a lot of experience doing different things. And when I got here, so Bob Sipple was one. He was amazing. Joe Reinhardt was another one. And still dear friend of mine.
Him. Is he something else?
He's just an amazing man. He loves his community. A Vietnam vet, you know, and
he's still a fighter.
He is. He's fighting right now. You know, love
I
that
know
man.
it. Love him.
Corky
and his
Mellis.
beautiful wife.
Oh,
too.
yeah. Yeah, Becky's amazing. Corky Mellis was another one. You know, just a really good friend of mine. Still, you know, just he was on the EMS board. Art Vandeveer, another one who's passed away. Just you talking about some guys who had my heart right from the get-go. You know, Art Vandeveer is a man's man. Purple Heart recipient.
Oh, yeah.
War hero in Vietnam. And boy, that guy was just intense. And really one of the smartest guys I'd ever met in my life. You know, he worked in banks. He worked in finance. He was a CPA. That guy knew things that, you know, he started teaching me how to do pivot tables and Excel. And just, I was around so many great community people that it was impossible to not start having roots grow here. You know, and to this day, and George Warney's a mentor of mine. He's a business partner of mine. Jason Cordova was on the
Janice,
board.
though. You can't.
And Janice, oh yeah.
What a doll.
They are. And this town is full of these
Isn't that
people.
something? We're so lucky and fortunate to have people like that around. It's just incredible. This area right here is so giving from the heart. It's just a beautiful place to be, and you're a great part of that.
Well, I was blessed to be accepted. You know, some of these towns, they consider you an outsider. Like you can't go and build community like this in Galveston. Boy, you're not an islander. There are different folks over there. So trying to plant a building over there would be so different. A business over there would be really different. But here, I was just accepted like someone from here. And it's incredible. You know, George Warney, George's daughter, Shannon Whitley, Shannon Riley now, business owner. You know, when she went into business, George gave her 2 loose leaf papers with 1-line sentences on how to be successful in business.
Oh, she's done well.
She's done well. She gave it to me when I retired from EMS and bought Help Inc. And that's sitting on the front seat of my truck to this day. I look at it every single day. Matter of fact, it like I said, it's written by George in his handwriting. I've taken it and I've typed it up and given it to him.
You know, you've kind of hit on it a little bit, Fred, but what makes doing business in Brazoria County, in this area, I want to say Lake Jackson, but you're all over the county, but what makes doing business here different from anywhere else?
The people.
Yep.
It's the people. You
just named a bunch of them.
I did. And, you know, and there's a lot of people who would never want me to say, hey, Fred's taking care of my family right now. And I wouldn't. I think that's one of the main things that people have trust in me. They know me. They trust me. I'm bound by HIPAA, but it's beyond that. If you tell me something's wrong with you and you say, Fred, I need prayers, and people say, hey, well, why are we praying for Dave? It's like, because he asked for the prayers. I won't share any of your story. It's your story to share. But I will say, hey, Dave has asked for prayers. Let's pray for him.
Good deal.
Yeah.
How has the community supported you during challenging times? You know, like COVID or storm times or this and that and other. And I was involved with you, you know, during the COVID time because you helped out our church. We got the spray thing. I don't even know what it's called, but hit on some of that, Fred.
You know, you talk about wondering if you were following God or following yourself. When I bought Help Inc., it was in May of 2019. And about January of 20, COVID was pretty much hitting. You know, it had already affected the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. I just bought this business. But praise God for my experience in logistics, in emergency management. I had the ability to pivot big time. And so I did. The main revenue generator of Help Inc. is caring for seniors in their homes, putting caregivers in their homes. And now we couldn't go into their homes COVID was such a big deal. People were afraid. People are staying home so they can take care of their family members on their own. So now I've got no revenue coming in. But I reached out to some suppliers who I knew, and I knew this was going to become an issue. We started having 18-wheelers worth of toilet paper come in, hand sanitizers, cleaning supplies that the hospitals would need. And I knew these things were going to just go really quickly. So we stacked the building with all of these supplies. And then, I put it on Facebook. And the next thing you knew, we had lines down the street, people buying stuff. And then, I got into fogging I wanted churches to be able to be in business. I did the churches for free. It was just, hey, let's go out and do this. Let's get people in church. Let's get them back.
This is a good time to take just a short pause right here for some words from our friends and sponsors. We'll be back. Help Incorporated with owner Fred Ortiz with his friendly and helpful and caring staff are located at 221 Brazosport Boulevard North in Clute. The 4 divisions that make up Help Inc. are medical uniforms and accessories. Number 2, medical supplies and equipment. 3, affordable in-home non-medical care to clients of all ages, including seniors, those recuperating from surgery or illness, special needs children, and much, much more, all with the dignity that you deserve. And number 4, and new to them, hospice care. To find out more, call 979-480-0197. Let me give you the number again, 979-480-0197, or join Fred on his own podcast, Senior Life, found at www.seniorlifenetwork.com. We are Help Inc., your locally owned healthcare resource. We have the expertise and resources to help. Our podcast today is sponsored by First National Bank of Lake Jackson, featuring financial services with the integrity that you deserve. Let's talk. Call or come by and let's discuss your goals and plans for the future. First National Bank of Lake Jackson, putting you first for over 63 years. Member FDIC. We're back with Fred Ortiz from Help Inc. Fred, what's the biggest lesson you've learned running or working for a business in a small town? That's a loaded question.
It is, but it's very cliche, but it's true. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And in business, in a small town, you better care more than anybody else. You better show up. You better be there. And if you own a company, you need to get up on that floor when somebody walks in and tell them, thank you. Thank you for coming in today. Thank you for supporting us. Every thank you matters. People want to be thanked. They deserve to be thanked. They are supporting you, and it matters. And if you don't do that, you better not even try to be in business in a small community like this, because the way that social media works today, you can do great 1,000,000 times, but make somebody unhappy one time, and it'll be shared more than anything.
That's the people that talk.
They are the people
If they're happy, they might not say anything, but if they're upset,
I wish we could turn that around.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It would. If people would just and that's why I support every business. I show up just like you do. We show up to these ribbon cuttings, not because of any other reason, but to say, hey, congratulations, we're here to support you. We appreciate small businesses. We know what it's like to be a small business. We're the ones who the children and the families and the businesses and the nonprofits walk to or send emails to asking for donations every single day. It's the small businessman or woman, the small banks. These small banks, they're just not everywhere anymore.
No.
It's the same thing. You can't afford to upset one of your customers here.
At First National, we're a community bank, and I love that. I really do. I was talking to you about I wanted my office as near to that front door as I could get, just like you. You don't even have an office. I do have one, but I like to get up just like you do, say hello, greet the people. Let's start off and have a good day.
Yeah. Just say thank you too. Thank you.
If you could go back to day one, and I'm talking about your business career, what advice would you give you?
Don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid. Just go. Don't overanalyze anything. Just go. And you got to be able to discern whether it was God or whether it's you.
Right.
I had a business fail in Bay City. I tried to do a second location for Help Inc. in Bay City against my own research. I was like, this research cannot be accurate. I got to be wrong. And it failed. As I knew from a business perspective, the numbers weren't right. The demographics weren't right. And it failed. And it was tanking my Lake Jackson location because I was having to fund it to keep it open. And so one of the fastest things that you need to do is realize, hey, this isn't going to work. Don't let it drag me down. The reason I didn't want to close it, I was afraid of failure. I was afraid of what people were saying. But you know what? Those people aren't going to pay my bills. That whole quote about the man in the arena,
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry about what anybody else thinks. You're the one in there. You're the one getting bloodied up and dirtied. And it doesn't matter what the critics think.
It's what you think.
It's what you think and what you're willing to do.
When you get an opportunity to get out of the office, not just where I see you everywhere I go to, at ribbon cuttings and this and that and the other, but where do you like to eat? What are the things you like to do here in Brazoria County?
Well, I will tell you, I believe in one simple thing. I don't eat at a restaurant if I don't know the owner. So whatever restaurant it is, whether it's here or Pearland, if I don't know the owner, I'm not going to support that business. And the reason is I want to be supported by people who know me as well. So there are a lot of franchises and I don't know who owns, and I'm not going to mention any of the ones who I won't eat, but I will go to Danbury and I will eat at Philip Cafe as much as I can. There's a little place that so few people know about called the Dog Leg in Danbury.
Harold and I just discovered that. I saw it on Facebook. And I said, let's go over there and get a hamburger. And we did, and holy moly.
Best hamburger in Brazoria County.
Well, I knew one of your favorite places wasn't going to be a sports venue.
No.
What is it with you?
Why don't I like sports?
What's the deal?
This is really weird. And I don't want to sound arrogant or anything else like that. These athletes make a lot of money for what they do, and they're entertaining. I've worked with Dr. Red Duke, and I've watched him, and I have been a part of saving people's lives. I've watched these nurses, and I think they're the ones who should be making that kind of money. They're the ones, these nurses, these paramedics who are out there every day. And so, I can watch Little League and, I don't care. I'm cheering for both teams because I don't really understand sports anyway. I'm a fan of people, but who I really am impressed by is not athletes. I don't care how hard and fall you can pitch a ball or throw a football. When you watch doctors who can every day show up and save people's lives who are dying, who have been in traumatic accidents and have these traumatic injuries or TBIs or pelvic injuries, and they're fixing them in a hospital, that's something I want to watch and I want to be a part of and I want to support. We just put too much emphasis on professional sports. So if I was going to watch a professional sport, it'd be horse riding or bull riding, and those are the ones that I'd really...
Can you be rooting for the bull?
Always rooting for the bull.
I was going to say that goes also, Fred, for our police officers.
Yes.
My goodness. They're pulling someone over they don't know. They don't know what they have in that car. Every time they stop them, I'm stopping them for a tail light, and they're shooting it out later. Yeah. Bless their hearts.
Yeah, people don't realize what that, I did over 34 years, and you can show up on an EMS call that came out as an EMS call. Next thing you know, you're fighting somebody with a knife or taking a gun out of someone's hand because the police haven't arrived yet. So it's a dangerous field. And, I don't mean to just push sports aside, but when you've seen people resuscitated, when you've seen people, saved, you can say about sports that don't impress me much.
I got it. You always look nice, but you're also responsible for keeping citizens looking nice and clean at one of your other businesses. How did that evolve?
I honestly don't know. My partner, George Warney, called me and said, hey, what do you think about owning a laundromat? And I had one question.
That's because Janice made him do the laundry.
Yes. All of a sudden, he wanted somebody else doing the laundry. And it's amazing business. But we got into it. This place was in dire need of repairs and new equipment. And we went in there, replaced all the washing machines, the dryers, painted it up, put some new lights, made it look really good, put a floor in there, made it look modern. And that's one part of it. But we started to cultivate the staff, again, to say thank you to every person. When we got there and we go into other laundromats, people don't even say hello to you. If George and I are there, we're going to have a conversation with you. We're going to say, thank you. How'd you hear about us? How long you been coming here? Thank you. Every quarter matters to us right now. So absolutely, thank you for being here. We open the door. We help carry their laundry to their vehicles. And customer service is dying. And to be able to, at the laundromat level, teach the staff that customer service matters. It's the most important thing we do.
Job one.
And someone can be having a bad day and they just need someone to talk to, and you can pray for them right here. That is a ministry. If you look at the location of where it is and some of the people who come in there, more than their laundry cleaned, they need their soul cleaned. They need somebody to pray over them. And so that's been an incredible blessing to be there as well.
I believe I saw an artist rendition of a future project that you would like to see in Brazoria County. Can you share that thought and hope and dream with us?
So, with AI today, you can create pretty much anything you can envision in your mind, and it can, if you know how to put in the right prompts. Well, I've got this, some partners and I have a 10,000 square foot building in Freeport. And I was like, what would this look like as a food court?
Is it being used right now?
Right. It's just an empty building right now. So
okay.
it's kind of like an artist has a canvas.
All right.
So somebody with an imagination. And so my fear is that a lot of people can walk into a place and not have the vision, what this could be. So I took my vision and said, it could be this. It could be this. It could be a conference center for the Freeport area. So I threw a couple of, ideas out there, indoor pickleball court, which, who knows if that would work or not, an indoor gym in Freeport, a nice facility. But that's what that was. It's really, hey, I've got a building for sale. And in case you can't see it, here are some possibilities. And a lot of times people just don't see. I remember hearing one time, or I was with a friend of mine, he and his wife, and we were starting to look at real estate and buying homes, and his wife was out immediately. The smell was so bad when we walked in this place, but the price was right. I told her, I said, you know what I smell? I smell money. You got to get past some of what something looks like. The building we're at in Help Inc. right now, a friend of mine looked at that building and passed it.
It was in bad shape.
It was in bad shape.
Fred, you had to have your shots before you went in there.
There's no doubt. There was cat poop all over the place.
Yep.
It had no electricity in it. But when we had a handshake deal on it, I called my brother-in-law, who's an electrician out of Pearland. Hey, I need electricity in this building. It was freezing. It was sleeting. And so he needed an indoor job. So they came out, brought their whole crew. We had power lit up in that place in a matter of hours. We got permits done, got the place cleaned up. I called Phoenix Roofing. Carlos is a good friend of mine. Everybody thinks that we're related. We look more alike than you and I look alike. Sometimes I think he might be me.
That's scary.
Yeah, it's
well, I'll pray for him.
But when you have a vision and you're not afraid and the price is right, you can go out there and push it. But you got to be involved and well. You got to be there. And we talked about my education, and sometimes it's embarrassing to say my highest level of completed education is a GED. I always said that no one will ever outwork me.
I believe that. I like your idea about the indoor gym. I go to the gym. Well, I meant I drive by the gym is what I'm saying. But maybe I would go to yours. I don't know. Fred, you also have a podcast that you host. Tell us a little bit about Senior Life.
Well, the Senior Life Network podcast is just that. It's for questions and concerns for senior citizens, or not just seniors, people my age or a little younger who are taking care of their parents, who have questions and concerns about what Medicare looks like. My brother, perfect timing. My brother watched it. He just retired from the sheriff's department. He's turning 62, but he's taking a full-time job with the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. So he wasn't sure how that was going to affect his insurance and Medicare. I said, well, you just don't apply. You don't have to take Medicare at 65, because he wanted to work until he was 67. Those questions were answered. We had a subject matter expert, and he said, I got to hear that. We had Cordoba Law Firm talk about trust and estate planning, and we've had multiple subject matter experts come in and speak about different topics that matter. Dale Libby spoke about dementia and the gathering place and all the good they're doing. for this population that, whether you realize it or not, if you live long enough, you're going to probably have dementia.
Who's a senior to you?
I think some people who act like a senior,
Okay.
right? Or not even just act, people whose body have become senior or elderly. I hang out with, some of the men I hang out with. These guys are 80 years old. Jimmy Newsom's 84 years old and still out there taking care of horses. Joe Ripple's horses out there on his property. And so it's very hard to define that, because you see people who are 60 years old and they're in really bad shape. Their bodies aren't doing well, and for whatever disease process. So technically, according to Luby's, I'm a senior citizen and I get the discount because I'm 57 years old. They start that at 55.
I have socks that old.
It's another question. It's hard to define, because I believe people who are active, who have purpose, who continue to volunteer, I see those men, those seniors, those women do so much better. I know a lady who's almost 100 years old and is still extremely involved in the cooking at the church and involved in everything. But when it's freezing, I'll show up at her home and wrap her pipes. And, I try to take care of the widows. When the Bible says, pure and undefiled religion is to do this, is to take care of widows and orphans in their distress. So if I know someone's a widow and I know they don't have someone to go do some of those things, I love to get out there and help this group of people who, again, it's where my business comes from, but it's where my heart lives, is taking care of seniors.
Fred, I want to just really open the mic for you and close our podcast with any subject you want to share with us. Anything you want to talk about, it's all yours. Take it away.
I've had something on my heart for a long time, and I think it's important. Social media has given so many people a platform to be ugly, right?
True.
We see more ugliness than anything. And Romans 12:21 says, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." And if we could just start posting more positive things, posting scripture, posting these ribbon cuttings, the success for people and not the failures, the hey, I'm here to support you and not to tear you down. I see this ugliness in the world. So many people, there are even podcasts out there to destroy people, and it's so ugly. In Galatians, I think it's 6:9, it says something very similar, but we don't have to be ugly. We don't have to be. We can lift each other up. I think one of the most important things we do as leaders in business is showing up for other leaders in business and supporting them, saying, hey, I'm here for you. And I'm going to support you in multiple ways. I'm going to share your Facebook page. I'm going to share your website for your podcast. And I'm going to teach people how to invite people to it. A lot of people just don't know the importance of inviting people to your page and how to do it. And so if I could say it real quick, or maybe one day you could do a podcast on it, and I'm going to do one, but from your personal page, you search the page. I'm going to use Help Inc. because it's easy.
Yeah.
You search Help Inc. And when you find it, you open their page, and there's 3 little dots over here.
Follow.
Click that and then say invite. Well, you follow first, but then click those 3 little buttons, and on the bottom it says invite, and you can click invite all of your friends if you feel that this business, whether it's me, whether it's the dog leg, whether it's you, start inviting people to pages and people you believe in and you want to support. Help them get help and be supported. When a business closes, then we're all in regret. We've got to support these small businesses. We need them here. And this economy that we're experiencing right now, and I've lived through the 2008, and I lived through these you've lived through probably more of these downtimes than me. I was alive, and I know you were, when we couldn't get gas every day. You had to have the right little tag to fill up your vehicle. I hope we don't wind up there again.
Or on an odd day. You
Right.
only fill up on an odd day.
Odd day or an even day.
Or water on an odd day or an even day.
And these days come back around historically. Your generation, my parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, because they lived through the Depression, they were so much more concerned with putting money away all the time. We live in a generation where everybody Ubers food now that costs you $35 for a hamburger. But, I'm not shutting down Uber or saying anything negative. We need to be preparing and putting some aside every day, putting some in the savings account, putting some in other businesses, being diversified. But again, this is a strange economy we're living in right now. I don't remember anything like this. And as an adult, this is probably the hardest economy that I've had to work through. And as a business owner, it's a struggle.
But talking to people, praying for people, caring for people, showing that you care. Sometimes just the people that we don't get a chance to talk to, Fred, and that's not many for me and you.
Yeah.
But if we just live our lives like we're supposed to, because like we've always said, we might be the only Bible that someone reads.
Right.
So keep your head up and look straight ahead. I've had a great time with you today.
Me too.
I wish we could talk all afternoon, and we'll have you here again maybe one day.
Awesome. I'd love to do it.
We'd love it. Thank you, Fred, again, for spending your time with us here on Bank on It. That's our time. Thank you for yours for Help Inc. with Fred Ortiz, Marketing and Creative LLC with our producer Lee Cowan, and First National Bank Lake Jackson. I'm Dave Mayberry, reminding you that a new podcast edition is coming soon. You can bank on it. This podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only and does not constitute legal or financial advice. Please consult with a professional for specific advice tailored to your situation. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and any guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of First National Bank of Lake Jackson. This episode discusses topics that are subject to change. Always review your current sources.